All right. So again, welcome to your midterm workshop. And my surprise for the cohort is this. I am expecting. Yes.
Congratulations!
Congrats.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And the funny thing is, I was pregnant at your orientation. You guys just didn't know.
Amazing.
Yeah. So thank you
Yeah.
so much. So if I get out of breath doing all this talking today, that's why. I'm still trying to work through presenting, breathing, and all of that. It's a lot. So so yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Like I said, it was happening. No one knew. So my staff, Vanessa, no one knew at orientation. So don't feel like I was hiding from you guys. I was hiding from everybody. But obviously, at the last orientation a couple weeks ago, I was really showing. So so everyone knew. So they've been calling it the rap baby. So yeah. All right, so now that we've gotten that out the way, we will go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen. Before we go into the checklist and talk about what really goes into the resume, I'm going to start out a little differently than I usually do. I'm going to start out with the example of what needs to change. So obviously, you guys, again, we went through a little bit about a federal resume, what the differences are between a regular resume and a federal resume before. So again, I'm going to start with this example. Again, I want you guys to be interactive. So as I go through this example, we're going to take it section by section, and I want you guys to point out what you think needs to change or what's wrong with that particular resume. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share screen. And you can turn your cameras off now if you want to. We just wanted to see you guys. And I know it's a lot of us, so if you want to save some bandwidth, you can go ahead and turn your cameras off. All right, so with that, I'm going to share. All right. Let me zoom in some. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna again take it section by section. So only pay attention to the particular area that I tell you. So starting out with this resume, just looking at the top header and the summary, is there anything that you see there that could be changed or anything that could be wrong or just anything that you would like to share about the summary or the header? Let me grab my thing so I can see what you guys say. That box. All right, Emma.
Well,
Let's see.
her information looks kind of uh kind of dim, I guess. Like it could be bolder. I don't know.
So you're talking about on the header piece?
Yeah.
On the header. So Emma is saying that she could have bolded and made her header a little bit more visible. Yeah, so again, I know we're starting at the top, but yeah, there's like 3 different colors and fonts going on. So at that top part, you want to make sure that um a part that stands out, in the top of your resume, with your name and contact information. So it doesn't have to look like it's, behind all this other information. You want it to stand out just as much as the others. So that's one thing. Anybody else?
I would say that her email could probably be changed just so it's a bit more professional.
Yeah.
And then you don't really need to include your address anymore. That's
Yes.
my thoughts.
Great point. Thanks for that. So yeah, just to reiterate, there is no need for you to provide your entire email address anymore. I know some companies may ask for that, but in the federal government, you don't really need that on your federal resume. We have this thing called PII, And so we want to just use just the information that we need to contact you, which is just an email and or a phone number. We don't need your exact address. However, when you are in USA Jobs, as a part of your profile, you will have your contact information there. So when you apply for a job through USA Jobs, they will have all of this information, but it's not necessarily coming just from your resume. It's a part of the application package coming from your profile. So again, not necessarily needed here on your resume. And then the other thing was the email address. So this isn't the worst that I've seen. Catch Dreams 2222 is not the worst. I've definitely seen some very unprofessional email addresses. So again, just a note to be mindful of the email address that you decide to use. So you can use your Forest Service email address, but right now I really wouldn't even recommend that, because what happens if you decide to go work for someone else and then come back to the Forest Service and you no longer have access to your Forest Service email address. So make sure that you are utilizing an email address that will not expire, like some school email addresses, that it is professional, and that maybe it's not your Forest Service one right now. But once you become a permanent employee, then you can start using that. So see, I'm looking at the spacing seems a little off between the bottom of the summary and the education header. Yes, there is a spacing issue there. So again, you want to be consistent throughout the resume. So the spacing that's there up under summary, and then going from the actual summary itself into the education piece, and then down here, you want to give yourself some adequate spacing so that it just looks clean and consistent throughout your resume. Thanks for that. Swag Lord, that's interesting, Brian. That's an interesting one. All right. So reading really quickly through the summary, it talks about they have a diverse array of experiences through education, employment, community service, international travels, that they've developed extensive world view rooted in integrity, motivation, teamwork. They've studied anthropology that's giving them the tools and theories and knowledge to critically and comprehensively generate solutions. Their strengths include detail organization, self-discipline, and collaboration leadership. So the thing about a summary, just like a cover letter, is your opportunity to kind of introduce yourself to someone. And so I will say, when you're going to have your summary, make sure it's worth the read. Like, this person hit a little bit everything. So they talked about themselves in a personal standpoint as well as professionally, and kind of gave, like I said, they tapped into, their experiences coming from education, their jobs, community service, some international travel. They threw in there about studying anthropology and all of that. So this was a good summary. But again, make sure this is worth the read. Make sure there aren't any grammatical errors or anything like that. So we're going to move on to the education piece. So don't look at employment, just look at education. Is there anything that anybody wants to point out for education?
Sylvia, can we ask a question really quick?
Yeah.
A few of us in the chat are wondering about the summaries. Like it's not something that everyone seems to include on their resume. Is that something that's typical for like Forest Service or government resumes?
Yeah, so it's an optional thing, just like a cover letter. It's an optional thing. If you want to have it, great, fine. Make sure it's worth the read, and make sure you have someone to, of course, review it and make sure that there's no grammatical errors, because whatever you provide us, we're going to use it for you or against you. So if it's a bad read, or if it's a bunch of errors, then they're going to count off on your written communication, right? So if you're going to have it, make sure it's good. And again, like I said, make sure that it's worth the read. Don't just put something up there just to have a summary, because it's not a requirement. Anything that's required, you got to have it. Make sure it's good. But anything that's optional, again, it's up to you if you want to have it or not. It's not like it's going to make or break you. A summary is looked at different than a cover letter. Sometimes people really appreciate cover letters because you can kind of go more in detail on a cover letter than you would on a summary. So I would say if you do want to have something, I would say cover letter over a summary, but you definitely don't have to have it. It's not a requirement. And for me, all of the many resumes I looked at, I haven't said, oh, this one has a summary, so I'm going to give them more points than this person, or put them up on a higher, scale. So again, it's a personal choice.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so in the education piece, before I answer any questions, I want to see if anyone has some. I don't like to include a summary. Would you recommend? Okay. Spacing looks weird in education. Could include relevant coursework. They don't say what they did at Bridgewater State University. The dates should all follow the same format. Dates overlapping, no explanation. And the dates should all include months so that they know how much time you spent there. Any award, scholarship, I would include in the education section, and skills could be added. Okay, so to go through this, we have our College of Charleston, BS in Applied Cultural Anthropology, 3.6 GPA. We're not sure when this person really graduated. We could assume that they graduated December of 17, but we're not sure. So you want to make sure. So for education, your time that you spent there isn't as important. What's important is when you graduated. So for employment, it is important for you to kind of put your range of dates. But for your education piece, not so much. They just want to know if you graduated in May 2017, December 2017, that's what they need to know. So this person could have just put College of Charleston, BS and Applied Cultural Anthropology. GPAs are sometimes required. That's one of those things where it's not a traditional requirement, but sometimes some job announcements will ask for, and we'll talk about that later. But they could have just put December 17, and that had been all that they needed for that one. Down here where they have their internships and then their study tour, that's not necessarily needed for the education piece because again, in the federal government, all of your experience counts as experience. So it doesn't matter if it was volunteer experience, if it was a study abroad, if you work for a professor, it doesn't matter where you got your experience. We can use all of your experience to qualify for a job. So I always encourage people to put their additional experiences like this in another section. So education should just be for education, not necessarily for the experience that you're going to be trying to utilize to qualify. So I would move this whole section to my additional experience section. And then because of that, you're going to want to have your dates that you did that. So not just fall 2017, but I would have, if I started in August of 2017, I would have August through December 2017. So again, I'm looking at that to qualify me for a job. So they'll be able to say, okay, this person worked from August to December. We can combine that experience with another experience to help qualify them. So again, you want it to be looked at differently than education because they're not going to look at education and say, oh, how long has this person been in school? They want to know how many credits you took, what your courses were, if you got the degree and all those things, not how long you were there. And then the Bridgewater State University, I think someone else said something about Bridgewater. I don't see it, but I know I read it. So on the Bridgewater, they didn't include any details about Bridgewater. Oh yeah, Savannah. They don't say what they did at Bridgewater State University yet. So what type of degree was it? Did they get an associate's degree there? Because again, for this particular range and that one, it's only a matter of 2 years. So did they go to one of these schools and get just a bachelor's? Were they studying to get a bachelor's, but then they didn't complete it, or they did, or did they get an associate's degree? So there's some missing details for this Bridge State University. So that really would count for nothing. The other thing that I'll point out really quickly, someone mentioned coursework. You don't have to include your coursework here because any job that you apply for, whether you apply or you appoint it through your DHA, you're going to have your transcript. So any courses that they want to see that you took, they'll get it from your transcript. Because anyone can put anything on your resume, but your transcript is your official documentation that's going to support the exact courses that you took, the amount of hours and all of that. So they'll get your coursework from your transcript. All right, going into employment. And yes, that comment is right. Only includes GPA if it's good, unless you see that it's required for a particular announcement. Mike,
Hey,
oh, did you
yeah,
drop in
Sylvia.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're using our transcripts like to apply for the DHA, do they request that those be official?
No, no.
Okay.
So when you apply through USA Jobs, also when you use your DHA to be appointed, you can start the action with your unofficial transcript. Now,
Okay.
once you have been made the job offer, they're going to ask you for your official. So that's when
Okay.
you will, and you don't want to do it any sooner than that because it has to be sent straight from your university to that particular HR person. So
Yeah.
if you request
Yeah.
it already and you have it, they won't take it just from you. It has to be sent directly to them. So I always tell people, don't waste your money. You know, I always say this, honestly, if you have graduated, you should just have a copy of your official anyway. So I would just use an official copy anyways, even at the start of my hiring, just because I just again feel like everyone should have a official copy of their transcript. However, it's not required. You can start the action with an unofficial. But again, once they make the job offer, you will have to furnish a official straight from your university.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna keep going. So before I hit the employment stuff, so yeah, we're in the employment section. So drop anything that you see in this employment section that could be missing, anything that they did wrong, something that they needed to remove from this section. Any thoughts for employment? Aligned to the left. Everything aligned to the left. So yeah, you don't have to necessarily have everything aligned to the left, Victoria. Honestly, it's more so about being consistent and having a resume that's easily scannable, and having it consistent and having the format, looking good. So if you want to have it to the left, that's fine. If you want to have it in the center, that's fine. As long as it looks good and is consistent and the formatting is appropriate, then you're good. Should your paid work employment experience be combined with your volunteer? Yeah, we're gonna put those in separate sections. So just your employment is gonna be your paid experiences, and then your other additional experiences are gonna be in a different section. No problem, Gabrielle. Okay, each job should include, this is from William, each job should include job title, dates of employment, hours worked a week, salary, duties, supervisor contact. Yes, that is correct. So all of these work experiences that this person listed, they don't have where this company was. They do have their time that they worked there. They don't have the amount of hours that they work per week. They don't have the supervisor information, the salary range. They have none of that. So you definitely want to make sure you have all of those pieces for each job that you have. All of the text is lumped together, hard to distinguish. Yes, you want to make sure that you give enough spacing so that, again, someone can just easily scan this resume without trying to say, oh, wait, I think this goes with that and that goes with this. So give enough spacing. AmeriCorps experience should be combined since they are sequential. AmeriCorps. So September 13, 14, 15. So the AmeriCorps experience, I would keep that separately just because the dates are different. What they did was different. If it was the same, so I get this question all the time: do I combine jobs? If I was at one employer and I was working and I left, came back for the summer, if I was in the same position, all of that really just depends on what changed and what was the same. If you found yourself in a situation where you had an internship one summer, you went back to school, you went back to that same internship the next summer. If it was in the federal government and you had a GS level and that GS level changed and your duties changed, you would keep them separate. If you went back and your duties did not change, your GS level didn't change, none of that was, everything was the same, you can keep it all in the same section and then just provide your different ranges of dates. Okay, so it just depends on if your stuff stayed the same or if any of that changed. And then the other thing was, where is it? So another thing for your dates is if you know the exact date, then provide it, you know. So if you know that it was May 1st, then put that instead of just putting May and the year, because that gives you more of an opportunity to get more experience, because, you know, HR doesn't know if you started at the beginning of May or the end of May. So if you, again, know the exact dates, then just go ahead and provide it. I'm guessing there's no page limit. Exactly. There's no page limit. What does it look like when you include salary? So we'll show some the real examples. I just wanted to go through this one just to kind of see where you guys were at with your resume review. Is salary required? So again, some stuff is going to be required depending on the announcement. So I'll pull up USA Jobs just to show you the resume piece in a little while. They need to be more specific with what they did, depending on the job they're applying for. Exactly. So you want to make sure that, you know, you are using some keywords, some buzzwords, things that can exemplify your experience, your range of work that you were able to do, things that you accomplished. And so this person only has like 2 bullets. And they worked, you know, in all of these places for a good amount of time. So there's definitely more that they could have added to give them more experience to help them get qualified for a job. Because if they were only leaning on this, it would be really hard for HR to qualify them because it's not a lot of information. So you want to make sure that you give HR some substantial information about your experiences and qualifications so that they can, you know, qualify you correctly. So we call those, they're going to be looking for specialized experience. And again, I'll share with you where to get that later. All right, we're going to keep on going. Is it recommended to use the Federal Resume Builder? That's totally up to you. The Resume Builder ensures that you hit all of the points, all of the things that we asked for, but it doesn't allow you to be creative and add those additional sections that you might want. It's pretty standard. And so what I will say is really about the content, not about if it was in the Resume Builder or if you created it yourself, because I've seen some really bad resumes that were done through Resume Builder. And yes, I gave them a check mark on their format because it was already generated for them, but their content wasn't good. So they didn't qualify. So don't think just because you do it through the Resume Builder that you're good to go. No. And I personally don't like the Resume Builder. So you can use the Resume Builder just to make sure you got all the correct information, but then I would recommend moving it over. All right, so this is the last section. Any thoughts for this section?
Sylvia, I had one thing on the resume, Federal Resume Builder piece. Like if we're applying for a job through USA Jobs, is it recommended? Like, so I have a federal resume that I built on there, you know, for the HR process, like to get through kind of that vetting process of like if my experience lines up with the position. Would you say also it'd be beneficial to have then like a pared down version that's shortened for then the hiring manager to look at? So it's not so much of a overload on like 10 pages of all the experience I have just to match up with what the cert is offered.
No, don't scale yourself back to satisfy a hiring manager. If you have these experiences, you want to give everything you need to qualify you for the correct GS level, well, qualify you for the job in general, and then qualify you for the correct GS level. So don't hold yourself back thinking about a page number. My resume is long. It's long. I've seen some resumes longer than mine. I think the last time I updated it was maybe a year ago, and it's like 13 or 14 pages, and I took some stuff out just because you know, you want to tailor your resume, right? So sometimes you will remove stuff just to tailor it to a specific job, but don't pull stuff out thinking that you are benefiting the person that's reviewing it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you might shoot your own stuff in the foot trying to look out for somebody else, and they're not asking you to look out for them. So a federal resume can be as long as you need it to be, as long as it's irrelevant experience, right? So don't fluff a resume just to say, oh, I have a long federal resume. Like, nobody cares that you have a long federal resume. So make sure that the resume has the experiences that you need to showcase to get you qualified. Emma, some jobs only accept resume bearers. Yeah, Emma, I've never heard that ever in my life. Yeah, I've never heard that, Emma. Would you share where you saw that, read that, heard that?
Yeah, I was reading a application for GS7, and it like wouldn't let me submit a resume that wasn't built in. So I went and reread it, and it said that you had to do it through the builder. So I don't know if that was just that hiring manager in
Was
particular.
it was for the Forest Service?
No, well, it was definitely in the USDA.
Yeah, that I've never seen that part that said specifically it has to be resume builder, because when you create a profile in USA Jobs, it allows you to either upload or build. So if it was a requirement, that they wouldn't even allow you to upload it. So that's interesting. I've never seen that or heard that, but I'll be on the lookout for that. But a federal resume is required, but I've never heard that it has to be through the builder. Regardless if one is using a DHA, one still has to qualify. Yes, you have to qualify. That's the reason why we're going over resume, because I don't want you guys to think, oh, I'm good to go. I'm gonna have this certificate. I can get hired anywhere. Got the DHA. Yes, DHA is great and all, but this resume is just as important because HR still has to qualify you. So I've seen RAs not take this part serious and try to get appointed, and then they get appointed, either they didn't qualify, or they qualified but at a much lower GS level than what they could have if they took the resume part serious and understood that it's just as important. Doesn't matter if you are applying for a job or being directly appointed. So make sure that you take this part serious, build out your resume, have those specialized experiences and everything on that. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. So the thing that I was gonna point out here with this service is that they have the service trip here, but again, they don't give a lot of details as far as what they did on the service trip, what they accomplished. They don't give the range of time that they did this particular service trip and what they were able to accomplish. They just got spring 14, so we don't know when that was or how long they were there. Yeah, so again, you want this to almost look just like your regular job, because again, in the federal government, we can count all experiences. So again, it doesn't matter if it's a paid job or a volunteer trip, study abroad, it doesn't matter. So we want to know what you did, what you accomplished, and how long you're doing it to use that to help qualify you. And then the last thing on this resume is they have no references. No references. You want to have your references on your resume. So thanks for that. So with that, we're going to move over to the actual resume guide. And then we're going to come back to 2 more examples and go through those. So just making sure you guys can see this as I slid this over to the other screen. I can't see the thing. Can someone say yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go through the checklist really quick. You guys should have this. If you don't have it, let us know, but you should definitely have this. But again, this will help you to make sure that you are hitting the marks with what needs to go on your resume. So again, I'm not going to go bullet by bullet because you have this, but your resume overview, just making sure that you are using an appropriate font and you're not using multiple fonts. You want to make sure that it's clear and consistent throughout. With your fonting, with your format. You want to limit the use of bolding and underlining unless it's for just a key header or a key section. You want to limit the use of acronyms, especially when you have acronyms that are specific to your field. So one thing that I've seen a lot of applicants do is when they apply for jobs, they are under the assumption that the only people that are going to be reviewing their resume are people that are working in their field. No, wrong assumption. Just because you're an engineer don't mean an engineer is going to be the only people that look at your resume. So as an example, most hiring panels, whenever we advertise a single vacancy announcement, when I say single vacancy, that means when you go on USA Jobs, it's one announcement with one location for one specific position, not trying to fill multiple locations. typically when you have one vacancy announcement, after it goes through the process of USA Jobs and all of that stuff, and it's time for interviewing, it's going to be a panel of people that work at that particular office a lot of times. So I've been on panels for an archaeologist, for engineer, for foresters, for a number of things. And my background is forestry and workforce development. So it doesn't really matter. So if I was looking at someone with the engineering resume, I'm going to be looking for exactly what they have given me to look for, but I'm not going to understand certain acronyms. So I just want to use that as an example. So don't think, oh, they're going to know what this is. Always have someone to check your resume for any spelling or grammatical errors. Header section. So your name, that part that was at the top of the resume, make sure it's there. Make sure it's the largest word on your resume. Make sure you do have your contact information, your professional summary and skills. Again, that's the optional section. Make sure that you're providing professional information, and it's kind of like here where it says it's your elevator speech. So just get straight to the point. Don't have something up there for someone reading just to be reading it. Your work experience section. This is where we were looking at where your meat and potatoes should be. Everything you've done, everything you've accomplished, your scale and range of your experience as far as if you accomplished a certain amount of surveys within a quarter, or if I was a forester, so I had a certain amount of acreage that I was responsible for doing inventory on. So I might have said, responsible for completing 40 acres of common stand exams, which is inventory. So again, showing your range. So you want to make sure you do that. Making sure your job title and company names are listed there, that it's in reverse chronological order, with your most recent experiences first, followed by the previous ones. Your hours that you work, your contact information for your supervisor, and you have to list if it's okay to contact, not okay to contact, or contact me first. Don't assume that just because you put not okay to contact or contact me first, that is going to be looked at in a bad way. I've seen that several times, and it could be a number of things. Maybe that supervisor don't know that you're applying for a job, so you just want to be able to give them the heads up that someone is going to contact them first. Or it could be a really unique situation where, you just, again, prefer to know first if they're going to be contacted or not. So again, don't feel like there's going to be like a red flag or anything. And the last thing I'll say about that is, it could also be a situation where maybe you need to explain who they're going to be talking to. Maybe the company went out of business, but they can still contact the person that you used to work for, or maybe that person no longer works there, but there's someone else that they can talk to. So a number of different situations, but again, don't feel like it's a red flag. I'm going to pause for questions right after I get through each one of these checklist parts before we go into the examples. In your volunteer work section, again, this is where you're going to have those additional experiences. So again, relevant class projects, your internships that were unpaid, your community service, volunteer work, all of those other experiences that you're going to want to use to help qualify you for a job will go into this volunteer related experiences section. To give you an example for that, again, I was a forester. My degree is forestry management. When I was a senior, my last semester of school, I had to do like this forest management plan. So all semester we went to this landowner's land to do inventory and to do these surveys, and then we had to put together this management plan and present it to him. So everything that we did were all forestry things. So I got credit for the work that I did during that semester because everything that I was doing were the things I was going to be doing in my job as a forester. So that's just an example. So again, you can use that in your resume for additional experience. This section, your special recognition leadership. If you are part of clubs or organizations, you're going to want to list that stuff, especially if you held specific roles such as president or, secretary, accountant. make sure you list that, especially also if you were part of any minority groups. I can remember specifically some hiring events that I've been a part of where we were looking for people that supported or that had been a part of minority or diversity supporting organizations. So we literally had I think I forgot how many points we gave them, but if anywhere on their resume they showed that they were a part of organization or they did some type of work with the organization that supported diversity, equity, and inclusion, or minorities, they got an extra point. So you just literally have no idea what someone's going to be looking for or something that you could potentially have on your resume that can help you to stand out. Because sometimes for your resume, especially for you guys, yes, you have to have things on there that satisfies HR to get through the qualifications. But on the flip side, you want to have things on there that's going to make a hiring manager want you. So at that point, sometimes it's not necessarily about the qualification piece. It's about who are you? What have you done? What are you going to be? What kind of person are you going to be on my team? What are you going to bring to the table? Are you going to be just an employee, or are you going to be someone that I can say, oh, this person was involved in a lot of close organization. So they're not going to be just an employee. They're going to be able to help out in other areas. So add that additional stuff. So we just got 3 more sections. Your specialized training and certificate section. This is where you want to list all of your relevant trainings and certificates. This could be like Courtney shared earlier, her ATV, UTV training. This could be CPR first aid, any of those that you have, you're going to list them here. And you're going to also list the dates. The reason why you want to list the dates, even if it's expired, because a lot of trainings have refreshers. So if someone sees that you already had the initial training and you only need a refresher, that's better than them seeing that you've never had the training and you need the full-blown training. So again, make sure that you share those dates for that. Your education piece, making sure that you have your degree type, your institution, the location, and the dates of completion. Again, you don't have to have the range of attending that university, but you just want to have the date of completion. GPA, only if it's on there as a requirement. Last section, your references. You want to have 3 to 5 professional references and their contact information. And a good rule of thumb is to call your references to let them know that you have applied for a job and that someone may be contacting them, for a reference check on you. Because what you don't want to do is have someone to be contacted. They're like, oh, that person was an intern for us one summer, but I have no idea what they did and what they accomplished, but they were a good person. Being a good person is only going to get you so far. When someone is looking for a really good reference to know what your work ethic was like, did you show up on time? What kind of projects did you work on? Those are the things they're going to want to know. What did you contribute? What did you accomplish? And if your reference can't help you, then they may as well not even have been your reference. So when you think about a reference, think about your biggest cheerleaders. Think about the people that you worked with or worked for that you know are really going to advocate for you and really sell you to someone. And again, make sure that they know they're going to be contacted. Another thing you can do too, another rule of thumb, tell them what you want them to say. Like there's literally nothing wrong with that. So if you know that you were working for a certain company and you accomplished some really major tasks that they gave you or projects, then you can say, hey, Jane Doe, when they contact you, could you talk about that restoration project? Could you talk about the ecological surveys that we accomplished? Could you kind of hit on those items? Because I think that will help sell me to this hiring manager. So again, just another example. And the last thing I'll say is, make sure they know you and they have something to say. Because people have reached out to me for a reference and I'm like, I really want to help this person, but I have nothing to say. Especially RAs. I'm your biggest advocate. Anybody will tell you I go hard for all RAs, for hiring, for anything that I can get to support you guys. I go hard. But when it comes to being your reference, unless we've actually worked together, I can't be your reference because there's only so much that I can say about you. I can say you're a part of Cohort. We have our onboarding. I know you, but I can't speak to your work ethic and really sell you. So unfortunately, I can't be your reference. So before we go into these, I'll pause for some questions. Let me go to the chat box. become, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Okay, so before I take your hand, Savannah, let me go to the chat box. Okay, so should references go at the bottom for each relevant job? So there's a difference between your reference and your supervisor, right? And the reason why I say this, sometimes they can be one and the same, but just because someone's your supervisor doesn't mean that you want them to be your main reference. So I could have someone that was listed as my supervisor because they were my supervisor of record, but maybe that person was my supervisor in the fact that they approved my timesheet and they saw me every day. But maybe Jane Doe was the person that I worked with closely. They're the ones that I went to the field with. They're the person that's going to sell me the most. So I would have them listed as my reference and have my supervisor listed for that job as my supervisor. So hopefully that makes sense, Olivia, but don't assume that they're always going to be the same. Is there a different one for every region? I see region 8. Alexa, I'm assuming you're talking about the guide. So the reason why this says region 8, region 9 is because before this position, I was a recruiter in region 8. And so I helped create this. And so because I helped create it, I still use it. So yeah, not every region has a resume guide, but this is something that myself and Michaela Hall created. So we continue to use it. Should we define acronyms first and then use them? So yes, Brian, you can spell it out first and then continue to use it. But you also, again, want to limit it unless it is something like GIS really common. But if it's something like, I don't know, I can't even think of an example, something that people just have no idea about, then you want to limit it. But yes, you can use the acronyms once you spell it out the first time. Okay, same thing for Liana. Is it an idea that we write out the whole program, put the abbreviation in parentheses after? Some people don't know the official name. When you say the whole program, are you talking about what Brian was speaking to, like whatever acronym you're trying to use, or is that what you're saying, Savannah?
Basically, yeah, he posted that the second I posted mine.
Oh,
But like
okay.
for my go-to example is Heck HMS. I have no clue what it stands for. Everyone I've ever spoken to has no clue what it stands for. We just all refer to it as that. So yeah. I suppose Google it and put the in parentheses.
Yeah, so you can list it exactly how he has it in his example. Like spell it out and then put the acronym in the parentheses. Annabelle, can you put retired instead of don't contact or contact me first? A lot of prior supervisors have left. Yeah, so you could contact me, put both, contact me first. You could put like, supervisor retired, contact me first. Or you could put their name and put retired, or you can just put contact me first. You don't really have to do both. But if you want to go the extra mile and just add retired or whatever else the situation might be, then you can add that. But because it says that it's required for you to have contact me first, do not contact, you have to have something there. So don't just put retired. You got to have something there. And I'll show you guys that in USA Jobs. Makes it real awkward if your supervisor doesn't know your plan. Yeah, that can be awkward, Michael. But the reality is there's a lot of people that are in situations where they're ready and looking for something new, and their supervisors just don't know it. They don't want them to know it until it's time for them to know it, because maybe you don't get the first couple of callbacks from the first 5 positions you apply to, right? And so you don't want this supervisor to know how long you've been looking for a job, and maybe it's not the worst situation, maybe it's not like you're really looking for an out, you're just looking for a better opportunity. But sometimes some supervisors can feel away, right? So you don't want them to be worried until it's time to be worried. So I've been there, I've seen it, I've heard it, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. So if you want to have that conversation with them, let them know that what you're doing, you can. But yeah, every situation is different. For references, what if we lost contact with supervisor references and no longer have up-to-date info? So you still have to list their name. Maybe you don't have their email or their phone number no more, and that's okay. But at least list their name, and then you can put contact me first. Well, they don't have no choice but to contact you first, but you still have to list that part. So yeah, and that's something that you can explain once they contact you. I'm curious, well, what is the original staff? Yeah. People understand that people change, companies close. It happens. How have the hiring panels you have been a part of functioned? There's some additional weight given to the person who best understands the position. So no. So I've been on various panels. When I was at the unit level, like actually on the forest and the district in Kentucky, and the panels I was on there, you had your hiring official, and then you had your panel. And so they kind of gave us the outline. They're like, okay, we're gonna scale these people on 1 to 5 on their oral communication, written communication. I'm just making something because I really can't remember. Leadership, whatever. So whatever criteria they gave you, you kind of went through it, and then we all gave our input, and then they made the final decision on things, but everyone had equal input at that level. The other things that I've been a part of have been more so with collective hiring events where we're filling like 200 plus positions. And again, the same thing, you have a panel, you have or resume reviewers. And once we go through your resume to review it based off of, again, the criteria that they give us, especially for student-based hiring events, that panel or that review process will look totally different than your normal review process. So like for a student-based one, they may give me certain criteria that I typically wouldn't go by, but again, the weight is still the same. So for a lot of those collective hiring events that I've been a part of, they have they would have like scores built in. So if I gave a person a 1 on this or 4 on this, 5 on this, we see how they rank out. Everyone that ranked above whatever number would move forward to the next round for interviewing or whatever the case might be. So they're all over the place. It really just depends on what level the panel is on and what they're looking for. But ultimately, everyone kind of has the same weight or say so, but there's usually one person that has the final say so. If you held different positions in non-employment organizations, should those being separate? In non-employment organizations. Jackie, can you give me an example when you say non-employment organizations?
So like you said like minority type of organization, so like the NAACP or like student government or something like that.
Yes, so that's going to be in that section where you have your clubs or organizations. So 2 examples here. So if you were a part of organization and y'all did a lot of like community service work and all of that, in your clubs organization section, that's where you're going to just list it, NAACP president, just listing it and the years that you were a part of that or held that title. In your additional experience, maybe you led some workshops or you led some organized events. That's where you're going to put the experiences that you had within the organization to give you more, to give you that experience that you need to qualify for a job. So again, it's 2 different sections that you could put that, but the sections will have different information. So where you have it as the organization is literally just saying, I was a part of this and I held this title. In the other section, you're going to say, I was a part of this and I did X, Y, and Z. So use this to help qualify me for this job. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go all the way down to Michael's last thing, and then we're gonna move on and come back around. Savannah, how do we list RAP? Do we say mobilize green partner with the Forest Service? So No, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence like that. You can just have mobilized. You can have resource assistance program, and you can have mobilized green. It's on here as an example. So I'll show you guys. Excuse me. I'll show you guys here in a second. But when you list out the Forest Service, you don't have to say partner with the Forest Service because you're going to list out your Forest Service details on your resume. So you're going to put Daniel Boone National Forest, London Ranger District. All of that is going to be there. So that's the Forest Service part. So you don't have to say partner with or in collaboration with or none of that. You'll just list out resource assistant program, mobilize green, and it all kind of goes together. So I'll show you that example. Go to example email. Yeah. Should we list DHA on our resume? What is our DHA called? So DHA is Direct Hire Authority. And no, you don't have to list it on your resume unless you just want to. Can you list someone as a reference if you know they will not, if you know they will be on the hiring committee? Great question, Alexa. So I would say have a conversation with them and ask them, is it okay for you to use them as a reference if you know that they're going to be a part of it? Because I've been in that situation and it just depends, you know, it can be a conflict of interest for sure, but it just depends on if it's like what level it is, and what type of reference they're using you as. So I always say, if you do have a unique situation like that, you just absolutely have to use that person. Make sure you have enough of other references to account for it, or to just make sure that, you know, everyone is consistent with your references and you don't have 3 references saying one thing and then that one person that is on that panel saying all these amazing things that don't align with what everybody else is saying. So talk to them first, see how they're comfortable, what they recommend. I always tell people, don't list me because I'm a part of it. Yeah. Oh, I say that because it sort of happened to me with my reference check for my RA position. Michael, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
That's all right. I was in reference to the fact that I had listed an employer that I was working with as a reference, and they thought I was going to stay at the position I was at or continue on into the summer. Yeah, not important.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So it is 02. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through these 3 examples and then we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll go through USA Jobs, just the resume piece. We'll say the rest of the USA Jobs stuff for Thursday. But when we come back from the break, we'll go through the resume part of USA Jobs and a PD and show you guys how to tie that into your resume. So I'm going to share my screen again to go back to the example, and then we'll take a quick break. All right, Vanessa, can you tell me if we're good to go?
Yes.
All right, thanks. All right, so this first example for Smokey Bear Jr., worked in Washington, D.C. Lives in Washington, D.C., not a real full address. They just put Washington, D.C. They put the phone number, and then they have the email address. They have a career summary. They talked about how they worked as a skilled forestry technician with 3 seasons of experience. Again, that's something really great for someone to know as they go into this person's resume. They have a strong history of designing, implementing successful strategies to meet or exceed organizational safety goals, solid relationship building skills, and experience working collaboratively with teams, partners, and the public. So if I was a hiring manager looking for someone that has experience with as a forestry technician, and you know they also could work with the public, these are some things that I would want to see in a summary. So when I said make sure that it's worth it, make sure the lines is targeted, tailored, that's kind of what I'm hinting at. And these key skills, again, all of this is optional. The key skills, the summary, but if you're going to have it, make sure you put in some good stuff. So key skills, this person has recreation area maintenance, wildland fire suppression, solution system implementation, chainsaw use and safety. What you don't see is those typical good work ethic. What's another one that I see a lot? What's another one? Drop me something in the chat that you guys usually see that's not necessarily attached to like a job. So it's just your typical skills that people enthusiastic. Yeah, synergy. Yeah. So don't use those. Make sure it's very swaggy. Okay, Brian. So make sure you're gonna have something that really speaks to like a job skill that really will highlight you, because again, you're looking for a position in the federal government now. You're not looking for an internship anymore. You're not looking to be join a club to, say that team development and empowerment. That stands out more than teamwork. Okay, what does teamwork mean? So yeah, make sure that it's worth putting up there. In your work experience, this is what I meant by making sure that you have all your details. So this person was a forestry technician intern, GS 046205. That means the 0462 was their series, which is the series associated to a forestry technician. GS means general schedule. 05 is their GS level. So they were a GS 5. They worked in this position from May 2019 through present. They worked for the USDA Forest Service on the Cherokee National Forest, Ocoee Ranger District, 40 hours a week. Their supervisor was Rick Tech Beth. Phone number, email, contact me first. That's all you need in that section for your real job experiences. If you did not hold a federal job, you don't need this, but you will need the other stuff. Okay. Unless you are a federal employee, you're not going to have a GS level. You're not going to have a series. You're going to have an equivalent. So one thing you can add to your resume is GS5 equivalent, or you could put, the whole thing, 46205 equivalent. And that just tells HR that the job that you were in is equivalent to a forestry technician at that same GS level, same series. Not to say that you were a federal employee in that job. Hopefully that makes sense. But you can definitely put that. And again, I'll point out that specialized experience stuff a little later. So in this first resume, they break out, certain areas that they wanted to highlight in their experience. So no bullets. They wanted to focus on strategic planning. So they talk about how they assist with the development of work plans for silviculture examinations, timber stand improvement, and reforestation activities, et cetera, et cetera. Then they talk about their project management skills. After that, they talk about these special projects that they had. All right. Same thing. Next job, forestry technician. They have a different GS level. So this kind of shows you what I was talking about a little earlier too, that the job before this was a GS5. This one is a 0462 GS4. They work somewhere else, same forest, different districts. So they got it separate, but it was also different GS levels and different work that they were doing. So they have their dates, contact information, all of that is correct. They highlighted their experience as a wildland firefighter, their training. So going on past all of that, you're down now to your volunteer experience, recreation crew intern, June 2016 through June 2016 through August 2016. We have the Green Youth Foundation, Cherokee National Forest, 40 hours a week, supervisor Sasha Reed. So again, you have all your details there. They talked about coordination. They talked about communication. All right. So this is one way to put it. So you got your title of your RA position. You got your dates. You got your partner. You got where you work, 40 hours a week, supervisor, retired. And again, this is in the other experience section and not necessarily the work experience section. So that's another thing that sometimes HR will look at, because HR knows that if you work for the federal government, it's required for you to have a GS level and a series listed on your resume. So sometimes, we've always recommended that people keep it separate. Some RAs like to put their RA-ship in the other section, but if you keep it separate, that's the indicator to HR that it's not a federal position, right? Because if you list it up there in the regular work area, they're going to be looking for you. I'm like, okay, where's this person GS level? But if you have it in this additional, and it doesn't have to say volunteer, it can say additional experience, related experiences, whatever you want to call it. But they're not going to be looking for that GS level and all the other stuff. So going on past that, special recognition, you have their awards that they received and when they got it, special training. They have the title of the training. They have who gave them the training or where they got it from and the year that they received it. Education, Bachelor of Science in Natural Resource Management from Wildfire University. That was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. GPA was 3.75, 19. And last but not least is your references. Woodsy Owl, give a Hoot Incorporated, Woodsy's email and phone number. Okay. So real quick, I'm gonna scroll through the rest of them. So resume number 2, same information. This one just does not have that summary or those skills at the top. It just goes straight into their work experience. So all of this was still the same. So again, you see it's kind of formatted a little differently, but the information is still the same. So still the same title, job series and grade, dates, location, hours they work per week, supervisor information. This resume is structured with bullets. Yes, you can use bullets. You can use bullets, and it doesn't have to be a complete sentence because some of your bullets may be a 2-liner, 4-liner, 3-liner. Doesn't matter. It's all about what you're saying in your bullets. And this is easily scannable. If I was really, really looking through this resume and I knew this person was in forestry, there's certain things that would stand out to me. So if I was scanning this section, already silviculture, examinations, reforestation, communication, what else stands out? Note taker, probably still scanning some more, timber management, weekly reports, planning timber stand management projects, field data. These are some things that again would pop out to me that would want me to, get my attention, and I would want to see what they actually did with that. Here's an example of using an acronym. COR, that's a very common term. It stands for Contract Officer Representative, but that person listed it and then they have their acronym in their parentheses. So again, we'll go through this pretty quickly because all this information is the same, just structured differently with the bullets. So here you go again, Recreation Crew Intern, Green Youth Foundation, Cherokee National Forest, 40 hours per week, Sasha Reed, and then the dates, the information about what you accomplished or what you did as an RA. Scrolling all down, special recognition, Wildfire University, the dates, training and certificates, education, references. Last example, the professional summary is back, but without the skills. So same information, just a different way to format it. This particular resume was structured in paragraphs. The thing about paragraphs, you got to be careful, is that, again, when you think about someone scanning, you're going to make sure that they don't get lost in a big old paragraph. So you don't want your resume to look like a paper or essay. But if you decide to do paragraphs, just make sure that you really are using those buzz and keywords so they can still stick out. Because again, if I was scanning this, that still sticks out to me. Silviculture examinations, timber communications, distribution and filing, detailed timber management. So because I've scanned a lot of resumes, there's certain stuff that I would be looking for that could stick out. But again, you just want to be careful with using a paragraph style, but you can definitely use it. So all of this stuff is still the same. I'm just going to scroll through quickly. Same GYF, RAP experience, special recognition, training and certificates, education, references with Woodsy Owl. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I don't see any questions. Do you have any questions about those examples? So again, at the top of that, you have your checklist. At the bottom, you have an example of how to break it up to communicate a specific skill set. that you have, or you can put it in the bullet form, or you can do paragraphs. So there's no right or wrong way to do a federal resume. It's all about the content that you have. So making sure that your content is good and making sure that you are exemplifying the experience that you have to help qualify you for that position. That's the main part. So are there any questions? No? Okay. So either that was a good explanation or I lost you. So I'm gonna go with good explanation. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, give you guys a quick bio break, stretch your legs. Oh, Michael, go for it.
A lot of people are asking in the chat regarding if we put a GS equivalence for RA position.
My chat isn't updating. Sorry if I missed something in the chat. The last thing I have is from Annabelle. The GS and series equivalent. So again, that's up to you. I never tell people to do something or not to do something. I tell you what I think about it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you if you want to do it. So again, HR are the people that are going to make that final decision. But if you know that you have worked with your supervisor to understand what you're doing and the equivalency of your work, then yeah, you can put it. But if you're not sure, don't put it, because you might shoot yourself in the foot. So if you see that you're doing whatever kind of work and you have GS7 equivalent, but really it's GS9 work, then you could be shooting yourself in the foot by saying that it's GS7. So again, if you know for sure, then put it. But if you don't know, I wouldn't recommend putting it. And again, I apologize. I don't know why I can't see whatever y'all have in there right now. Let me look at my phone. Okay.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So does that mean that if we don't have the GS, then the rep experience goes in like additional experience, like in volunteer?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's up to you where you want to put it. I always recommend that you put it in related experiences section, just because HR, when they're looking at it and they see your work experience section and you have stuff in there about the Forest Service, then for them, they are probably automatically looking for a GS level, automatically looking for a series. And I have heard, kind of a horror story. It does not happen all the time, and every HR person is different. So I've heard of an HR person, disqualifying someone. They fixed it later, but because they were looking for a series and a grade and it wasn't there. So again, if you separate it, then they'll see that this is, again, indeed additional related experiences associated to a program that's supported in the agency and not necessarily a federal position. So up to you if you want to put it at the top in your regular work experience section, or if you want to put it in another section. The main thing, the very, very important key piece to this, is making sure you have a resource assistance program. That's the main thing. And the other thing I'll say too is the thing to be careful about, or if you want to add additional stuff, is going to be if you are using this resume for other companies, right? Because for the Forest Service, we know what RAP is. Another agency or department may not know what RAP is. So their HR person could be looking for that GS level or for that series. So totally up to you which one you wanna put. What link is this? Oh, the link for your resources. It's not working. Okay, we'll get that
We'll
corrected.
fix it.
All right, so I'll take this last question from Omar, and then we'll take a quick 5-minute bio break, and we'll come back to look at USA Jobs and PD and close this out. Are the HR decisions final, or is there some back and forth with the hiring officer during the process if they need clarification? So that's kind of a yes or no question. So if you apply through USA Job and it's like a single vacancy announcement, once HR gets through their qualification stuff, and you'll understand this more on Thursday because I'll talk you through the entire process. But once they get to the part of the process where they are qualifying you, you're going to get a email or so that says you are eligible for a GS5, you are not eligible for a GS7, or whatever those levels are. So if you get an email that says you're not eligible for whatever reason, you can contact them to see why you weren't eligible, and you can submit, you can appeal it. But you have to do it right away. You can't wait. You got to do it right away, because what happens is if you don't do it right away, that process continues to move. So just because they may have disqualified you for the wrong reason doesn't mean they're going to start the process over again. So as soon as you get that notification of your results, and again, if you don't agree with them, if you know that if they say that you were not eligible because you didn't have your required documents, and you know for sure you had your required documents, and you pulled up your resume package and you see you had your resume, your application package, and you had your resume, your transcript, your certificate, you had all of those required documents, you can say, no, here's the resume package that was submitted. I would like to appeal this decision, and then they can overturn it. But again, if you wait too long, then it would probably in a part of the process where there's nothing they can do about it because it's too far along. So make sure that you appeal it right away. And then the other thing that I'll say is on the DHA side is that, DHA is different than applying through USA Jobs. DHA, you're working with the hiring manager. They're going to tell you, okay, Omar, we're going to put you in this GS 7911 position. We got to make sure that you qualify for it at minimum, the GS7. So let's tailor your resume, make sure your transcripts and stuff are good to go. And they're going to be able to have the conversation with you to set you up for success from the beginning. You don't always have that when you're applying on your own with each job announcement, but through a DHA, a lot of times you're working closely with that one person that's looking to hire you, and they can help make sure that all your documents and things are good to go. It's going to be submitted to HR, or submitted through our system. It's going to be assigned to an HR staffer. They're going to review it. A lot of times they'll come back and say, hey, this person is qualified. So because it's a DHA, you can use it more than once. If I was a hiring manager, then I could say, okay, Omar, we need to change some stuff up. I'm going to resubmit this thing again. So your luck is better through DHA than it is through applying through USA Jobs, because through USA Jobs, it's a whole process that it has to go through. Through DHA, you got some flexibility there. So hopefully that helps. All right, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. Actually, let's just say 3:30. 3:30 Eastern time. Be back at 3:30 Eastern time. We're gonna take a quick break, just to stretch your legs, use the bathroom, whatever you got to do, and then we'll pick up once everyone returns. And my chat is still not updating. Let's see.
And my link still doesn't work. We're having the issues.
Okay, let's figure out what's going on with this. Okay, so Michael's work, just not yours.
Yes. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Let me get USA Jobs pulled up.
Sylvia.
Mhm.
Madison is mentioning that we or I might have mentioned the DHA how to hire guide, which we
Mhm.
typically share with the mentor. Should I include this in their resources folder?
Yeah, you can give it to them because if they find a supervisor or hiring manager that is not a mentor, that needs guidance, then they already have it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, Madison, I'll add it to your folder. Sylvia,
Mm-hmm.
have you eaten today?
I have.
Okay, good. Enough for two?
I don't know. I don't know if I ate enough for two, but I ate.
Okay. We need to keep you healthy.
I appreciate you checking.
Okay.
Appreciate you checking.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis definitely also sent me a text message and was like, "Did you eat?" So
Good.
yeah.
Crazy, we need to remind you.
I know work just gets busy,
Yes, I know.
but I definitely ate. I didn't finish all of it. It's literally sitting in front of me.
Oh, take a bite.
It's cold.
Oh,
I'll eat it when we're done. We're almost done, so
yes.
I'll survive.
Okay.
I'll survive. Yeah. Um, I had some Chick-fil-A,
Oh, there you
but
go.
but
Yes.
I haven't even touched these chicken fingers.
Oh no.
But I did eat the French fries.
Oh, good. Did you have the do you have the sauce? I think the Chick-fil-A sauce is so good.
I do. It's right here.
Ah,
Yeah. So have the sauce, and like I said, I ate the chicken, the French fries, but I didn't make it to the fingers before this. And I also have a kale. I got the kale salad.
ooh, yum.
Yeah. So I'll get to all of that after we're done. Yeah.
Okay, because while you were talking, I was just having this peanut butter cup. And I'm sad you can't do the same.
It's all good. It's all good. All good. And so we're almost done. So I'll snack it up when we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Pretty hard to get Chick-fil-A here in Alaska. Oh, oh, sorry, you guys.
There's got to be some good fish there.
Got to be. Got to be. All right, so we'll go ahead and get this train back rolling so that you guys can have the rest of your day. So this time I'm going to share my screen again. And what I want to show you this time around is how to find those buzz and keywords that go into your resume. And these are things that you can take back to your mentor to talk about to make sure that they set you up for success with qualifying for the position. Or if it's not your mentor, maybe it's someone else is going to hire you. So this is something that you can take to them to have conversation about, to say, hey, can you show me this to help me pull out the buzz and keywords, or specialized experience is what it's going to be called. All right, so we're going to start with USA Jobs. Share my screen again. All right. Vanessa, let me know that you guys can see this.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so I've already put up a job. It's a wildlife biologist position posted on USA Job for the Forest Service. I'm not going to go through all the details because I do that on Thursday. So just going to go to what's important for this. So we're going to scroll. So this job is a GS 911. I'll find another example too, but this is 911. So the first section that you're going to find for buzz and keywords is going to be duties. Okay. So write that down if you're taking notes, duties. In USA Jobs, on an announcement, the first section you're going to find buzz and keywords are duties. So here they're going to list out all of the duties that this person is going to be responsible for doing. So if you are a wildlife biologist or biological science in a biological science position, and you know that you're trying to qualify for a wildlife biologist, you can look here to pull out some of those words. So, you know, they're talking about compiling data to determine wildlife habitat requirements and management needs, assessing habitat quality, quantity, interpreting biological requirements for all wildlife species and their habitat. So obviously on your resume, you're going to want to talk about, if you have that experience, about how you have compiled data that supports the management of their habitat or assessing habitats. You're going to want to pull something else out about, okay, this one says document the analysis of the effects of management activities on fish and wildlife, plant resources, and environmental assessments. So any EAs, environmental assessments that you've done, you want to highlight that and talk about that and what you use. So this says contribute to the evaluation of our alternatives and the development of final recommendations for environmental impact to wildlife resources. So if you've assisted on the team and provided input to that particular program manager that, you know, led to their final decision, you just hit that bullet. So again, go through the duties, pull out things that you know that you have either been exposed to, things that you have done, and pull those things out and make sure they're on your resume. Don't copy and paste. Okay. Don't copy and paste. One more time. Don't copy and paste. Don't do that because we're going to know you did it. And so it's not good to do that. But what you do want to do is pull out the buzz and keywords and just create your own sentence. So it can be very similar, but just don't make it say the exact same thing as it says here. Okay. So this is your first section, duties. You're going to scroll on down. The next section, qualifications. Okay. Write that down. Qualifications. In your qualifications section, this is the second area that you're going to find buzz and keywords to help qualify you for a job. Again, I'll go more into details about the qualification on Friday, but very quickly, a lot of job series to qualify you for a particular series and or a grade level, they're going to either look at your experience, your education, or a combination of both. So if they're looking at your experience, they're going to be looking at specialized experience. And the specialized experience is exactly what you're going to want to have on your resume. So if you go to the qualification section, you scroll down till you see specialized experience. So this position is for a GS 911. So as you guys know, or if you didn't know, you must have 1 year of specialized experience equivalent to a GS 7 level in the federal government to qualify for a 9. For the 11, you got to have 1 year of specialized experience equivalent to a 9. So that goes back to earlier when I was talking about whether or not to put the equivalent. That's why I said be careful, because if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So you don't want to mislead HR by telling them your work was equivalent to a certain GS level and you're not even sure. Because again, you could be shooting yourself in the foot. But what they are going to go by is the specialized experience that are stated in here. So for this person, if a person was applying for this job and they had experience at a GS 7 level, again, not to say that you were a GS 7. If you were a GS 7 in the federal government, then obviously you're good to go. And, you know, as long as you have those experiences listed. But if you were not in the federal government, your experience could still be the same without you being a federal employee. So that's the reason why it's important to have these particular terms and items in your resume. So highlighted here is what you want to look at. So this one says specialized experience is defined as 2 or more of the following. Served as an advanced trainee specializing in wildlife biology and performing common qualitative, quantitative analysis of wildlife resources. Conducted surveys and drafted tentative professional opinions to assist in determining wildlife resource needs and remedies. The last part of it is assisted in carrying out a range of analytical, scientific assignments in wildlife biology profession that included researching and analyzing data, issues, and information that support wildlife project recommendations. Okay, if you have that experience, put it on your resume. They're going to qualify you for the GS9. If you have, so for the next one, for the GS11, they say that this specialized experience is this. So sometimes some of the stuff can be a little bit repetitive, but a lot of times it's different. So this one talks about analyzing data, and recommended solutions to problem solving, a limited section of wildlife resources issues, interpreting the effect and impact changes on wildlife habitat. So the experience is a little different. So again, you're going to look for specialized experience under your qualification section. Okay. So we're going to scroll on down. All right. The third section to pull out buzzer keywords is how you will be evaluated. How you will be evaluated. That's your number 3. Write it down. When you get to the how you will be evaluated section, you're going to look for a link right here. It's going to always be in the same spot, which is at the bottom of that white box in the how you will be evaluated section. When you click this link, it's going to show you what the application is going to look like. All right, so what we're going to do is scroll down to a certain section. So we're going to skip past all this stuff at the top because that's not relevant right now. Till we get to the part where they start asking questions about your actual experience right here. So number 4 says determine need for wildlife habitat restoration, enhancement, and improvement projects. And when you do your application, it's going to ask you to pick A, B, C, D, E. And so based off of what you put there, it's going to score you and all of that stuff to determine your qualifications. But I wanted to show you this for your resume because it's important to make sure that whatever you select here when you are applying for a job, it has to be on your resume. So a person could easily go through an application and put that they are an expert, put E for every every question, and be at the top of HR's list as the most qualified applicant. But then HR is going to go to that resume and look for these experiences. They're going to look on your resume to see where you talked about determining needs for wildlife habitat restoration, enhancement, and improvement projects. They're going to look on your resume to see where you spoke to providing input on an annual program of work to determine budget and staffing needs to meet the objectives and targets of that unit. They're going to look for that stuff. So what you want to do is look through here to see what experiences that you have and how you have that experience. So in here, it says that E says that you are considered an expert, that you have supervised that performance, not that you were a supervisor, but that you supervise the performance of that task. So if you showed someone how to do a certain job or task, that means you supervise that performance. Doesn't mean that you were an official supervisor. So that means that when you apply for a job, you can give yourself credit for E, but it has to state that in the resume. So again, for me, if I'm going back to like my 4 days and talk about doing those common standing exam inventory checks, then I can say that, I am considered an expert in performing this task. I have supervised, that performance. So on my bullet in my resume, I can say responsible for providing guidance or training of common stand exams to new employees or other staffers, or however I would want to, word it, interns or whoever, my crew. And so that's what you want to do. So you want to take what's listed there and tie it to whatever you did with that task. So if you just performed a task, then you just performed it. If you taught someone how to do it or supervise their performance, then say that. Okay. So you're going to do that. So you're just going to go through all of these questions to see if there's something in here that you did. And if you did it, pull those buzz and keywords, put it on your resume. Okay, got that? So that's that. The last thing I want to show you. Oh, yeah.
A quick question. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I've gotten mixed answers on this. Is it an actual person from HR who goes through and looks, or is it like a computer that's searching for keywords?
It's actual eyeballs.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Now, I can't speak for other departments and other agencies because I have heard that too. But for the Forest Service, HR looks through it.
Gotcha.
So the last thing I want to show you guys on USA Jobs was the resume section. So in here on the required document section, it talks about resumes and what should or should not be included. So you have your general standard resume requirements, but then sometimes some job announcements, and every job announcement is going to look different. So if you do apply to a job, always check the required document section and go down to where it talks about resume to make sure you have everything you need, because there could be an easy switch up that if you don't have it, they can easily disqualify you just for not having that one simple thing because it was in the required document section. Okay, so this one says the resume that includes one, personal information such as name, address, contact information. So there's the address piece, right? Contact information, education. Number 3, detailed work experience related to this position as described in the responsibilities section, including work schedule, hours worked per week, dates of employment, title, series, and grade, if applicable. Number 4, supervisor's phone number and whether or not the supervisor may be contacted for a reference. Other qualifications. So this one specifically said the supervisor's phone number, not their email, but their phone number, and then whether or not they can be contacted. So again, you got to have it. If that person has retired, if you do still have their old email address, just put it anyway, put retired, and then say contact me first. But because it's here as in the required document section that you have to have it, if you don't have it, if they got thousands of applicants, they look for the smallest reason to eliminate 1 or 2 or 5 or 200. So don't let this be one of the things that they ding you on. So take the time to look at every job announcement, because I have seen some that have a GPA. This one doesn't speak to the GPA, but I have seen some that says the resume has to include your GPA. So again, just take the time to look through it to see if there's anything there that they're asking for that you don't already have on your resume. So this is asking for me to change my passcode. Are there any questions right now? feel free to, I can't see the chat just yet, so put it you can just say it out loud.
So this might be something that's covered on Thursday, but I was just wondering that if we use the DHA, is that something we would use before USA Jobs? So the jobs like in the outreach stage?
Yeah, so you're right. We are going to cover that on Thursday, but I'll answer it really quickly here. So when it comes to your DHA, when you are using the actual DHA, okay, wait, that's wrong. When you're actually using your DHA and they're gonna be appointing you to a position, it doesn't hit USA Jobs. So there's two terms in the government. You have outreach and announcement. Announcement and advertisement, they're the same thing. Whenever you hear someone say that this job has been advertised or announced, that means it hit USA Job. If you hear the word outreach, that means that it has not made it that far. So for your DHA, if you find a position or catch it in the outreach phase, then they can consider you before they put it here. They don't even have to come to USA Jobs. But if you find a job or if you reach out to a hiring manager, they say, hey, the job has been announced. You got to apply for it because it's already announced. Unless they, cancel the job and want to hire you the other way. But it just depends. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Vanessa, I may have to have you to.
Nothing on the chat except for Darth Vader. Did you see that?
Okay, I see it now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So enough about that one. The last thing I want to show you guys is the PD, or show you what a PD looks like. So all this stuff can quit popping up on me. So this is what I want you guys to ask your mentors for. Ask your mentor, if you haven't already, for a PD that shows, a PD that reflects your work experience. So this is a PD that aligns with the announcement that I just showed you guys on USA Jobs. So this is a Forest Service official PD. So whenever we announce a job or advertise a job, there's a process that we have to go through to HR to make sure we have all of the details and required items, for them to announce it. Same goes for when we actually hire you through the DHA. So when you find a hiring manager that wants to hire you through the DHA, they're going to need your resume, they're going to need your transcript, they're going to need your RAP certificate, they're going to need a PD, which is the document I'm showing, and they're going to need an organizational chart that shows that box that they're trying to hire you in within their organization. Okay. So ask them ahead of time. I forgot who asked the question earlier, but this is something that you can do in preparation with your mentor to make sure that everything aligns. So if I know that I'm going to be hired in a wildlife biologist position, this is the GS7 equivalent PD. So it talks about, how this person serves as an advanced trainee in the field of wildlife biology, performing predictive work, developing skills and knowledge for a higher level position. That's the introduction. So you remember some of these same words were used in that announcement talking about being an advanced trainee. So down here in the major duties, so all of these are things that you can pull as buzz and keywords to put on your resume. So it talks about conducting limited wildlife biology projects. It talks about collecting field data on the wildlife habitat and vegetation preparation. It talks about assembling biological and vegetation use data from records to determine past wildlife and livestock use. Just all of these things. So again, in this major duty section is where you can pull more buzz and keywords. So this other stuff down here is more so things that HR is going to be looking for with their point system and stuff. Factor statements, professional knowledge of basic principles, concepts, and methods of wildlife biology to perform recurring assignments and moderate difficulty. Knowledge of Forest Service procedures, management plans, work plans to complete assigned surveys. They're going to be looking at supervisor controls. The supervisor assigns to work by defining, is a little different. By defining priorities, deadlines, and provides advances, advice in situations without clear precedents, and company carries out recurring assignments. So again, you can talk about, this goes into like how you can be scored again behind the scenes, just to kind of give you guys an inside look of how some of the scoring is done. The guidelines, it goes into the complexity. So these are a lot of the factors that you will see if you look at an actual real PD into what goes into the qualification determinations and stuff. So going on down, you got scope and effect. These things can be kind of long sometimes. But the most important thing is this. And so this one was a GS7. If you look at a GS9, it's the exact same thing. So you have an introduction at the top that's a little bit different than that GS7. And then you have your major duties. So going through these major duties to pull out those buzz and keywords to make sure that it's on your resume. And again, a lot of the stuff that you saw here in the major duties would be exactly what was also on USA Jobs. Some stuff might be different, but a lot of the stuff would be the same. Actually, I think I remember reading this exact sentence right here. Yeah, I remember reading that exact sentence. So, okay, so I wanted to show you guys what a PD looks like. So again, this is what they're going to need to submit to in our system to hire you through the DHA. So ask them for it prior to them submitting, just so you can make sure that your stuff is aligned with this. Because like I said, just because you have the DHA doesn't necessarily mean you automatically have the green light. You still have to meet the qualifications. And hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna stop sharing, see if there's any questions about the PD or USA Jobs, those buzzing keywords, where to find them. Does our supervisor have? Yes. Every Forest Service employee has access to PDs. I literally pulled this while we were on our 10-minute break or however minute break we were just on. I just pulled this out the system. Okay, I don't think I see another question. All right, so real quick before we end, just to kind of check your knowledge, can anybody drop into the chat what the 3 areas are on USA Jobs that I told you to find buzz and keywords? See who the first person is. The 3 areas on USA Jobs to find buzz and keywords. How you be evaluated, qualification. Okay, so the first person that said it correctly will be Allison. You were pretty close, Rosa, but duties is the word I was looking for. Duties, qualifications, how you will be evaluated. Margaret, MJ added a little extra to it, the specialized experience. So that's the other piece under that qualification section. So some sections have like another piece up under it. But yeah, those are the main areas that you're gonna want to look for those words. So I won't go through another check of a resume. I think you guys kind of get the gist of it all and understand what goes behind this. But so just checking one last time, is there any questions about resumes and qualifying for jobs? What Rosa said. Gotcha. Refreshing my phone here just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so everybody feel comfortable now to create a federal resume. You know where to pull your buzz and keywords. You know how to tailor your resume. You know what to include on it. to make sure that you are all good to go with qualifying for a job. Everyone feels comfortable? Give me some thumbs up in the using the thumbs function. All right, Mike's good. Julie, MJ. Great. All right. Well, on Thursday, we will, do you have any tips on starting to work on a federal resume? Bit of a daunting task for me to think about and structuring, working on it. So my advice would be you could either, take what we share with you, remove that information and put your information in if you kind of want a template to use, or you can go to USA Jobs, build it there, and then take the information from USA Jobs to create your own. Everybody has their own style, their own kind of formatting that they want to do. So again, no right or wrong way to do that, as long as it's consistent and it's professional and it looks good and clean. So you can, again, go to USA Jobs, build it out, and then take it and create your own. Because the thing about doing it yourself, what you can't do in USA Job is add extra sections. But if you create your own, you can have whatever sections you want and call them whatever you want. But USA Jobs is pretty standard. So you can start in USA Jobs and then move it on over, or you can just do your own thing. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. It was really great to see your faces, to hear how things are going for you. I hope this resume session has been beneficial to you and that you are taking away something that you didn't know before. As always, you can reach out if you have more questions. Work with your mentors to take something that you learned in this session to have more conversation with your mentors to work on your resumes. Hopefully you have been taking notes of all the things that you have been doing in your position. So now you can take those notes and put that stuff on your resume. On Thursday, we're going to look at your certificate. We're going to talk about hiring authorities, hiring processes, the different ways to be hired. And we're going to also go through USA Jobs more in depth on Thursday. So with that, thank you guys for joining. Again, it was good to see you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Peace.
Sylvia will be a young code in the making. Brian, you always crack me up.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Thursday recording is gonna be available later because I have a graduation and I'm gonna be able to participate on the
Yeah, no
one day
problem.
on
Yes.
Thursday.
Yeah, so Vanessa will share the recording.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Good to
Congrats.
see you.
I realize this is still recording. I'll stop now.
Yeah.